Gather close, travellers, for tonight we unravel a tale of whispered names, living libraries, and chains that bind not bodies but truths. The children of the Crescent Moon walk deeper into fate, and find a tea party at the edge of the stars. We begin today's tale with the children of the Crescent Moon standing before a sealed stone door, silent, ancient, and saturated with arcane tension. It pulsed faintly with dormant power, beckoning them to uncover its secrets. With caution and curiosity in equal measure, they examined it, casting detect magic to confirm what they had suspected. The door was magical, but still sealed tight. It would not open with will alone. There were puzzles yet unsolved, and so the party turned back towards the scholar's tomb. The maze of hallways was familiar by now, but danger still lurked. At a T-junction, a spectre emerged from the shadows, its cold fury lashing out at the druid. The druid, trying to defend himself, attempted to shift into bear form, but the space was far too narrow, the walls closing in like stone jaws. The others surged to his defense, flanking the apparition and overwhelming it with swift precision. The creature was vanquished, and the path was once again cleared. Upon returning to the scholar's tomb, they passed through the western door, and they entered a chamber filled with 15 stone slabs. Upon their surfaces shimmered inscriptions, letters and symbols that twisted and dissolved like ink in water. Some formed words in half-familiar tongues, but others evoked something deeper, stranger. The slabs almost seemed sentient, as though they'd remembered truths long buried. And in the center of the room, a pressure plate awaited. When stepped upon, the inscriptions froze, but just for a breath. Together, they devised a system and deciphered 15 shifting words. Legacy, betrayal, wisdom, echo, oath, forgotten, truth, remnant, oblivion, secrets, sacrifice, eternal, inheritance, fury, and keeper. Among them, one gleamed with quiet certainty. Truth. With practiced timing, the fighter triggered the plate as the word aligned on a single slab. The room exhaled. The slabs cracked, but not with violence, more like ancient doors creaking open. Pale indigo light spilled from the fractures, and the shifting inscriptions drained into luminous streams, vanishing into the floor. Then, the stone began to change. Shelves emerged from the walls, not carved but grown, like roots unfurling toward purpose. Scrolls, crystals, prism glass tablets, and tomes bound in obsidian thread filled the chamber. The hum in the air became a chorus of whispers, words in forgotten tongues blooming like memories into the minds of all who stood within. At the center, a single lectern rose. Upon it, a blank book awaited. The crypt was no longer hiding. The library was once again remembered. Though the tome revealed no secrets for now, they gathered it, along with a scroll and a pouch of 15 gold and 40 silver pieces, and pressed on. They saw that there were 2 doors that led south. One revealed only a ruined broom closet, brittle brooms and shattered pails. The other opened into a twisting passage that turned south, then curved north, leading to a grim and a rattling chamber. Here, the air grew colder. Rusted chains hung from the ceiling and the walls, swaying ever so slightly, though no breeze stirred. Some wrapped around wooden pillars etched with strange, shifting symbols. Others draped like webbing across ancient racks. The party would come to name it the Hall of Chains. The chains whispered of pain, not merely imprisonment, but memory. As the fighter reached out and almost to himself whispered his own name, the illusion shattered. The chains quivered, then clattered. The rust that covered them flaked away, revealing silver beneath. The symbols upon the wooden pillars glowed blue, pulsing in time with the awakening room. And one by one, the chains unraveled and dissolved into wisps of smoke. The racks they had been bound to stretched and reshaped into bookshelves. The metallic tang in the air gave way to parchment and ink. The hall had never been a prison. It had been a seal. Amongst the shelves they found electrum bracers, a potion, several gold pieces, and one book that demanded their attention, the Celestial's Veil. They noticed it because it was a weathered tome bound in deep blue leather, and its spine was embossed with silver filigree that caught their attention. The cover bore an image of a single eye, half-lidded, surrounded by curling clouds. And the tome contained references to the Obsidian Order, the children of the Crescent Moon, and seems to indicate that a series of riddles had been left behind to help guide the children to their fate, be it good or bad. The book also seemed to contain its own riddle, and also seemed to include some thoughts about that riddle's meaning, though still somewhat cryptically written. The notes read, "Where towers scrape the sea-kissed sky, in a city where masks hide truth and lie, seek the smallest hand with light unseen, a star disguised where none have been. Beneath the streets where secrets sleep, past iron gates and tunnels deep, a name once sung in hymns untold shall guide the lost to wings of gold." They took it and stored it safely within the bag of holding, and the ranger, ever curious, investigated a nearby locked door. However, with the rogue engaged elsewhere in the room, he tried another path and found an archway that curled back to the same sealed door. And it was here that a shadow struck. The creature lunged from the dark, severely attacking the ranger with 2 swift blows. He cried out, and the party responded. The shadow was banished, but the cost was nearly grave. As they healed and gathered themselves, a rumble stirred in the crypt. It began as a low tremor, like Oworth was clearing its throat. Then it deepened. The stone groaned, and dust sifted down from above. Somewhere beyond sight, something had shifted. Not a trap, not danger, but a seal breaking. The air had changed, though it still tasted stale. Something has awakened. They returned to the once locked door. It now stood open. Beyond it, a grand tomb shimmered, but the illusion faded with a single step, and the world tilted. They were no longer in the crypt. They now stood on a floating rock beneath the swirling astral sky. Upon the stone stood a cottage, half bookshelf, half storm. Teacups floated in lazy arcs, and a harp seemed to play itself. Above, a winged quill chased a massive tome, and then a bookshelf exploded. From the parchment burst a man, robes tangled, beard askew, eyes full of startled wisdom. "Ah, there you are. No, wait, you're not. No, you're definitely not the Githyanki cheese merchants I summoned," he said. "Blast. My bookmarks must have realigned the ley lattice again." Then he shrugged and said, happens all the time." He dusted himself off with excessive flair, then paused. Looking at the party, he said, "Oh, adventurers. You've nearly barged into something quite serious, you know. Very scaly, very angry, very hot-headed. So I thought, why not pause the play, Intermission? A cup of tea before the curtain rises?" Chairs manifested, tapping at their knees. Biscuits appeared, and tea seemed to steep itself. He walked along the air itself and pointed to a constellation shaped like a dragon and smiled. "That fellow ahead, well, he's not exactly evil. Let's say he's had far too much time to think about angry thoughts and has not had enough hugs. But don't worry, you'll do fine. Probably. 73% chance. Well, 68% now that you're low on spell slots." Speaking of, he clapped his hands and warmth washed over them. Wounds had healed, minds were now clear. Even their gear seemed polished. There. A proper rest, time untouched, door unopened, fate unfractured. A gift from me to you. Well, technically alone if you survive. And finally, with eyes that pierced deeper than the stars. Oh, and one more thing. If it says your name, don't answer. If it sings your name, run. And there, dear friends, we temporarily close this chapter, for the next tale is best told in full, and even bards must rest before the curtain rises again. Thus ends this chapter, with the stars overhead and mysteries beneath. The children of the Crescent Moon have stepped beyond stone and shadow, into legend's breathless pause. The curtain will rise soon enough.